Okay, are we ready? Yeah, okay, there we go. Good afternoon. We're going to call the joint meeting for the State Tribal Relations to order. And today we're going to consider the proposal for the gaming compact between the Sac and Fox Nation of Missouri in Kansas and Nebraska and the state of Kansas. So you all have a review. Jason, could you give us a short review? Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, just real briefly, you have a memo that just reviews the statutory requirements for the joint committee and what the committee can do in terms of action on the proposed gaming compact amendments. They're listed there in the memo in terms of recommending proposed changes for the governor to continue negotiations on the amendments. The committee can vote to approve gaming compact amendments or reject them. Such votes require 4 senators and at least 4 House members in order to take those 2 actions. Finally, the committee could vote to send the compact proposed amendments to the full bodies without a recommendation as to approve or reject. That requires just a vote of 5 of the legislative members of the committee. Mr. Chairman, I'd be happy to answer any questions, but I believe the governor's office is going to brief the committee on the actual amendments that were negotiated and are proposed.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you very much. Our first conferee will be Justin Whitten, Chief Counsel for the Governor's Office. Welcome, Justin.
Good afternoon, Chair Alley, members of the committee. Thank you for allowing me to be here today. The compact amendment that you have in front of you is an amendment to the 1995 compact that the state of Kansas and the Sac and Fox Nation entered into. This is in substance the exact same amendment that was approved by this committee in 2023 for the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation, and also the same in substance as the amendment approved for the Iowa tribe of Kansas and Nebraska in 2024. I have provided, and I believe you have, a little 2-page document that I created that outlines the 10 sections of the amendment and tries to put in as much plain language as I could, without too much legalese, what the amendment is actually doing. And I think in substance, I'm happy to run through what the different sections do. Some of the stuff is just technical, like Section 1 of the amendment provides for guidance on the use of capitalized terms in interpreting the amendment. Section 2 is where we see the actual authorization for sports wagering. As you may recall, the legislature authorized sports wagering recently, and the 1995 compact with the state of Kansas and Sac and Fox and the other tribes did not permit sports wagering. So we needed to make an amendment to permit that as a form of Class 3 gaming. That's what Section 2 does. It also contains a trigger provision for authorizing what are called remote sports wagers if certain conditions are met where it's found to be expressly found to comply with the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act. A remote sports wager being where, like, the bettor is in Kansas but not on the tribe or another tribe's Indian lands and places a bet through a server located on the Indian tribe's land. We also provided some clarification that an existing restriction that gaming on credit shall be limited to checks, wire transfers, bank cards, and bank money machines. That would not apply to the use of wagering accounts, so long as the wagering accounts did not extend or advance funds to the account holder. Some other technical amendments was like modifying the definition of the compact to include that it means the compact has amended from time to time. Modified the definition of a gaming facility to include that means the location of any server or other computer equipment used for receiving sports wagers. And then, since we authorized sports betting, we wanted to also include definitions for sporting event and sports wagering. Section 4 of the amendment required that additional regulations be adopted by the Tribal Gaming Commission in accordance with existing processes, and we set forth some minimum topics to be addressed in Appendix E. So that is things like we wanted the Tribal Gaming Commission to consider adopting regulations that would prohibit wagering on sporting events where the majority of the participants were less than 18 years of age. So things like high school games. Also prohibiting accepting sports wagering where from referees or officials involved in the sporting event. Section 5 of the amendment actually added Appendix E to the compact. And then Sections 6 and 7 of the amendment modified a restriction that existed previously where a license or applicant for a license, for a gaming license, couldn't apply if their license had been suspended or limited in another jurisdiction. That language limited was a little bit vague, and after consultation with the Kansas State Gaming Agency back when we did the Prairie Band Amendment, found that we could take that out and potentially address a workforce issue. So now a licensee will now only have their license denied, revoked, or suspended if their license has been canceled or revoked in another jurisdiction for any reason. Section 8 of the amendment modified restriction on alcohol sales. Previously in the compact, it provided for alcohol sales between 2 and 9 a.m. We just removed it to say consistent with state law, which provides for restriction from 2 to 6 a.m. And then sections 9 and 10 were just, section 9 updated the contact information. Section 10 incorporated dispute resolution and severability provisions. So I'm happy to discuss any of the specifics of the amendment. I think it was a good negotiation process. Tribes Council is here to discuss from their perspective what they think of it, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Do you have questions? I think Senator Bowser.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Witten, for your testimony here and bringing this to us. Is this sports betting on my phone? Is it a sports book at a casino? What are we talking about here?
A sports book at a casino.
Sports book at a casino. Okay, thank you.
At a tribal casino.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for that clarification.
Senator Humphreys. Representative Humphreys, excuse me.
Thank you so much. So this is the first time I've sat on this committee, so I'm kind of getting my bearings here. So I'm trying to reconcile this document, amendment to the Sac and Fox Nation of Missouri, with this one where, numbers are all different and everything. I mean, normally, when we're looking at bills that have amendments, we get the whole bill and we can see where it fits in. And I'm assuming the compact is quite huge, but I'm a little, can you explain why we can't see everything? Instead, you're just showing us the changes?
Yeah, and if the committee would like, we can certainly provide the entire gaming, the 1995 compact. I think the negotiations originally started with Prairie Band and just submitting for the amendment. Because of the approval process, we just have to submit the amendment to the Department of Interior, and then they have a certain amount of time in which to either object to it or approve it, or if they don't take any action, it becomes approved by operational law. I'd have to speak with Prairie Band's counsel to refresh my memory, but I think it was just administratively easier for us to get the amendment.
I'm sure it's just different than the way we normally see things. So is this the exact same amendments and changes that you made with the Prairie Band? Or, I'm assuming every negotiation was different. So how is this one different than the one that was done previously with the Prairie Band?
In substance, it's the same.
Okay.
And the only difference is obviously like changing the names.
Well, of course.
Contact information, but the substance of it is the same.
And then when was the last time this was amended? Compact.
1995. The compact was entered into in 1995. It's never been amended, so as far as I know, this is the first amendment.
Okay, never been amended. Okay, that's helpful. Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Senator Haney.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Humphreys had part of the question that I had. This is identical, as you've said, with the two preceding ones that we've already ratified, with the Potawatomi and with the Iowa.
Yes, sir.
There's nothing different. Okay, that's helpful. Now, we have a fourth tribe, don't we? Currently, a fourth nation.
Yes, sir, we do. We have the Kickapoo.
Have we heard anything regarding what may be a future interest along that line with them?
We have not. Normally, the way the process has worked is we will receive a request from the tribe to begin the negotiations. We, to my knowledge, we have not received such a request from the Kickapoo Nation.
Okay. And finally, And thank you again for this review. I actually did sit through both of these before, having been on this, this joint committee. Can you help, for clarity's sake, it kind of goes back to what I guess Senator Bowser was wondering. There's a physical presence, I got a little fuzzy on that, that one must have at the actual site in order to place it initially. Could you share that procedurally, how this is implemented? Should we adopt this amendment to the compact? For someone to game or to participate, is there some physical presence that's required somewhere, or it's not just online?
Let me do my best to answer that, and if I don't answer it, just let me know. So what this will do is authorize physical sports betting at the on the tribal lands at the casino. And then it also authorizes, in my understanding, sports betting where the sports wager, if it's placed online, is done through a server that is on the tribe's Indian lands if the individual is also on the Indian lands. It would not, and I think this is maybe what the trigger provision was meant to deal with, if somebody was not on the tribe's lands, but placed a remote wager through a sporting app, through a server that was on the tribe's land. So I think the example that I've tried to give before is like, say I was in Lawrence, and I tried to place a bet through an online app, maybe operated by the tribe. Even if the server is on the tribe's Indian lands, we would not consider that an authorized, authorized wager to have been made. We think the individual needs to be on the Indian lands to make that wager electronically. So I don't know, like, technically how they'll set that up, but I do believe physically they'll have an operation to accept sports wagers and then can do so online as well. Now, we put the trigger provision in there to say if a court of competent jurisdiction finds that it is lawful under the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act to permit the type of wager that I'm talking about, like say I'm in Lawrence, but I place a bet through my phone and it goes through a server that's on Prairie Bands or in this case Sac and Fox land, if they say that is compliant and that's deemed a wager placed on Indian lands, then the compact would permit that. But I believe we don't have that legal clarification yet.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. Whitten. I'm trying to see if the mechanics of this, having been tried already, have been fully vetted, having been tried with the two preceding, both Potawatomi and Iowa, if there have been, through the mechanics of the implementation, if there's been any anomalies, or because frankly, I'm trying to understand what you just explained to me, and I'm not quite there. There's full disclosure as to how this does have the nexus or the tie with the actual gaming facility because of the electronic version. But has this been fully vetted, or have there been any anomalies with the two others that you know of that the committee might learn from?
Senator, I have not heard of any anomalies. It's a good question. When we negotiated with Prairie Band and then got that to the Department of Interior, they approved it by operation of law. We have not heard of any complications or issues. So as far as I'm aware, and operationally it's running well. And the state entity that's responsible for overseeing the tribal gaming compacts, the Kansas State Gaming Agency, nobody's brought to my attention like, hey, this is a problem with the way you drafted this, or this has created an issue. So, I mean, as far as I know, operationally it seems to be working well. Now, I can't say that I've had proactive follow-ups to reach out to them and say any issues, but given that it impacts their operations, I feel like I would have heard something.
Thank you so much, Mr. Whitten. I appreciate it, and thank you, Mr. Chair, for your patience.
Representative Sawyer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chair. So just to follow up on that a little bit, is geofencing used? Is that how it's implemented when it comes to not only does the server have to be used for the online sports wagering, but the person actually has to be there? If we use that similar technology, or if they're using the similar technology that we use, for instance, you know, how you can't do that sports wagering in Missouri, like you physically cannot, then I would assume it's a similar technology, right?
I don't know the technology implemented. That's a good question. counsel for the tribe is here, and he might have some information as to like how they actually implemented if they use the geofencing technology.
That would just be my guess or my assumption, but yeah, thank you. I always like to have those confirmed, but thanks.
Any other questions or comments?
I do.
Yes. Representative Klesser.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I just wanted to kind of clarify, actually, from Senator Haley's question there. The trigger in this thing is simply just, it allows the remote sports wagering as long as they're on the tribe lands, correct?
Yes, if there are.
And if for some reason the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act was found that the hub and spoke model where they could actually be anywhere in the state of Kansas and place that bet, if they find that to be considered lawful, then it would just automatically switch to that model.
Take a minute to think on that. I believe that is correct, that our intent when we drafted this language was we weren't sure that the hub and spoke model complied with IGRA, right, the Indian Gaming Regulatory Model Act. So if we got a court of competent jurisdiction to say hub and spoke model is fine, then yes, that would be allowed.
Thank you.
Representative Humphries.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me ask another question. Again, just being new on the committee, I'm trying to kind of understand what our role is. And so from what I understand, and this may be a question for the revisor, our role is to recommend changes, approve, reject, or report without recommendation on the changes to the compact. Is that right? And then is it done, or does it go to the legislature as a bill, or it's just done if this committee approves it?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, when the committee takes action on the proposed gaming compact amendments, if the committee does not recommend changes and submit a letter to the governor to continue negotiations, but takes one of the other actions, then a resolution is then introduced by the committee in each chamber of the legislature. Each chamber would then vote on that separate simple resolution. Upon adoption of the resolution, if it is to approve the proposed gaming compact amendments, then my understanding is the next step is submission of the amendments to the Department of Interior for approval or allowance to go into effect without action. And so then the amendments would become effective after the U.S. Department of Interior has seen it.
And so if we were to approve the gaming compact, or is the resolution coming this session?
Mr. Chairman, if it is not acted upon this session, then it would have to be introduced the next session, and the legislature would have to act on it, and everything would just basically be paused.
I understand, but are we aiming towards having it done by this session? Yes, okay, all right, and just, future reference, I mean, I'm just a new member on the committee, so I'm not holding everything up, but one of the changes is, like, for instance, modifying the definition of gaming facility. Like, I don't know how you modified it. I don't have the language that I can tell. I mean, we're just, again, used to looking at a bill, it's redlined, it's marked up so I can see exactly the new language versus the old language, and I don't think we have that. Instead, I see that, my colleague graciously pulled up the compact so I could see the old compact, but it's not redlined, so I can see where are we making these changes and what is the new language. So, just maybe for the future, I'm not asking to hold things up today because I don't want to throw a wrench in everything, but, like, what's the new definition? You just say it's going to change. You don't have to tell me what the new definition is. That's just an example of when I'm reading this, I'm not being able to see the exact language. That's what the comment is.
Thank you for that, Representative Humphries. I wonder, there's the notes of my compact, but then there's the actual compact amendment. which does have the language defining sporting event and sports wagering. And that is you should have been provided a copy of that. That is the 5-page document. That's the actual amendment document. And so that's where you can see those definitions.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I just can't see where they fit in. Again, I see that. I just don't know where they fit in, what language they're striking, I don't see it in context. So, thank you. Yep.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you, committee.
Our next conferee would be the tribal attorney for the Sac and Fox Nation of Missouri in Kansas and Nebraska, Christopher Halbert. Welcome, committee.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today to offer comments and information regarding the gaming compact. As the chairman stated, my name is Christopher Halbert. I am the tribal attorney for the Sac and Fox Nation. With me today, and I'd also like to introduce, is Jared Kabia, member of the tribe's tribal council. In sum, the Sac and Fox Nation encourages the committee to recommend to the legislature that it approve the Gaming Compact Amendment. By way of background, the Sac and Fox Nation is the owner and operator of Sac and Fox Casino, which is located north of Holton along Highway 75 near the city of Powhatan. At Sac and Fox Casino, the tribe offers Class 3 gaming to its patrons pursuant to the Indian Gaming Regulatory Act and the Gaming Compact between the nation and the state. The Gaming Compact, as Mr. Whitten stated, was established between the nation and the state in 1995. It has not been previously amended in the nearly 30 years of its existence. So this is the first amendment to it. The compact amendment, in sum, it eliminates the prohibition currently contained in the compact with regard to sports wagering occurring at the casino. And it would permit the Sac and Fox Casino to offer sports wagering to the patrons at the casino. In terms of substance, again, I emphasize this proposed compact is identical to the one reached last year with the Iowa tribe and the one reached 2 years ago with the Prairie Band Potawatomi Nation. With regard to the changes from that, it is names, paragraph numbering, and minor technical changes like that, not in substance. The nation's tribal council is very pleased with this agreement that it has been able to reach for the amendment. The nation's position is that it is also a favorable agreement to both the tribe and the state. And they're very happy that it could come out of the positive government-to-government working relationship which the tribe has with the state. Finally, the compact amendment will enable the tribe to continue to be an economic engine for a very rural area of the state of Kansas. The nation's businesses, operations, and projects create hundreds of jobs and millions of dollars in economic impact in northeast Kansas. Again, the nation encourages the committee to recommend that the legislature adopt the compact amendment. I would be happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Senator Haley.
Mr. Chair, thank you, and thank you for being here, Mr. Halbert, and for your representation. We have to kind of comply with this. Isn't there some national, and I don't remember exactly what it was, in years past, we've heard that we're pretty constrained to follow it due to some federal guidelines. Would you consider that a fair representation of what's before us today, that the state is pretty much compelled to follow?
Yes, I would, Senator. The Federal Indian Gaming Regulatory Act, or shorthand IGRA, is very restrictive on what can be done. It governs the operations of tribal gaming and the relationship between the states and the tribes.
Thank you. And further, Mr. Chair, Mr. Halbert, would you say, and I'm glad that we've reached this same compromise in this compact negotiation or the amendment to it. You referenced that there is a benefit that's conferred somehow in this beyond employment to the state to implement this. And in fairness, I did ask these same questions heretofore in other applicants for the amendments to the other two that appeared. What would you say, in fairness, is something that, a benefit that's derived from this to the state or to the state of Kansas?
Well, the Sac and Fox Nation employs hundreds of employees that are from the state of Kansas. These are not all employees, are not tribal members. They do not all live just within the Sac and Fox Reservation, but they live in the communities of the state of Kansas. Just like anyone that receives salaries, payments, wages, they go spend their hard-earned money in various stores, businesses, pay their taxes just like everyone else.
So do you feel that there'll be increased employment opportunities from the regions if this is enacted, that there'll be greater job opportunities, or what again is the benefit that you feel the state of Kansas gets from this compact, amendment, which we're pretty much constrained to have to follow?
We think there will be more jobs created out of it. As a directly, I mean, there will be some jobs created directly at Sac and Fox Casino for administration of the sports wagering. On top of that, being able to offer sports wagering as an amenity at Sac and Fox Casino would hopefully increase patronage as a whole and create additional jobs there for the additional business.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Senator Bowser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Halbert, for being here today and your testimony. And thank you, tribal members, for being here as well. I'm familiar with this. This is in my district, full disclosure. Very familiar with the facility. It's a beautiful facility, professionally run. It does have a tremendous economic impact on Northeast Kansas. I'll remind the committee that gaming is already very heavily regulated. It's inspected, it's audited. There's a growing demand for sports wagering around the country. And we're not really doing anything different here than what we've already done with the Potawatomi and the Iowa tribes. We're simply granting the Sac and Fox the same thing that we granted the Potawatomi and Iowa tribe. I support this amendment, and I thank everybody for being here today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other discussion? I would be entertain a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to make a motion to approve this amendment to the Sac and Fox Nation of Missouri in Kansas and Nebraska, Kansas Class III Gaming Compact.
Second by Senator Haley. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Jason, did you have something else you want to? Okay. So understanding, Jason, there will be a resolution that comes between both houses, is that correct? And we'd hope to have that, if not later this afternoon or Monday. Okay, thank you. Any other business before the State Tribal Relations? Seeing none, thank you all for being here, and we are adjourned.